There's something wrong with the world. You can feel it when you watch television. There's just something not right with what's going on. Look at this footage here. This is a well-known broadcaster from ESPN. And yet it looks like Westworld. What are we missing here, ladies and gentlemen? What don't we understand? We're going to be asking the tough questions about who these people are on the television. These clones, these robots that seem to glitch before our very eyes. What is going on with the world? If you pay attention, they now want to plug you into the Matrix. Did you see the all-seeing eye there? What is it with these people, ladies and gentlemen? Maybe part of the answer is happening with the Kardashians. Meet Khloe. Khloe the clone. Does she remind you of anyone? When I saw her, all of a sudden, I just started seeing Denise Richards. And Scarlett Johansson. Had to wonder about the video guy there. Do you see it, or is it just me? And there's more. There's much more. Who are these people? Who is Khloe the clone, really? And why use clones, ladies and gentlemen? Why not just use real people? So many questions, so few answers. But you know that you're thinking the same thing deep down inside you. You know there's something wrong with these politicians. You know there's something wrong with these reporters. This little group of people that just seem to echo each other and ignore the rest of America. It's as if the system has been hijacked. It's as if humans are no longer in control. These are actual different people. Heather Graham, Jayma Mayos, Michael J. Fox, Scott Wolf, also the other Bush brother, Lucy Hale, Selena Gomez. Who are these people? Jennifer Carpenter, Hope Solo. You might think they're the same people. Look at this one. Ian Somerhalder and Rob Lowe. Rosalind Sanchez, Nicole Schertzinger. And look at these two. Are they clones? Is one real and not the other? How about Jeffrey Dean Morgan and Javier Bardem? Or Judy Greer and Anne Hesh? Ladies and gentlemen. What about Renee Zellweger and Joey Lauren Adams? There's more. Robbie Amell and Colin Egglesfield. And there's more. What about Evan Rachel Wood and Alexandra Breckenridge? Are they clones? What are the chances all these people would look alike? Kate Blanchett, Anna Torv. Does it feel like the show The Fringe out there? Oh, Homer Bailey and Christopher Bale? Are these clones? What about Helena Christensen and Cameron Diaz? Are they clones? Jessica Biel, like the devil. Christy Turlington. Dan Radcliffe, Elijah Wood. Look at these two. It's amazing. Who are these people on television? Look at this one. Joseph Levitt and Heath Ledger. Is there more? Oh yeah, there's plenty more. Chris Humphries, Taylor Lautner. Oh, this is the worst. Bob Saget and Stephen Colbert. Bradley Cooper, Paul McDonald. You notice that one? What about Megan Fox and Tamara Esselstone? What about Linda and Mila? What about these two? What about Paul Rudd and Ben Affleck? You might think these are the same people. No, let's not miss this one. Courtney Cox and Nelly Furtado. Look. Keisha and John Travolta. Is that not a keeper? You'll never be the same again. Have you noticed that some of these, quote-unquote female celebrities aren't even female at all? You don't even know who these people are. But you idolize them and worship them. Why is that? It's part of the plan. One thing is for sure is that, these people on television are not your friends. And they're script readers. They're reading a script, part of the psyop, setting you up. But why? If they're the puppets, who's the puppet masters out there, ladies and gentlemen? Have you ever asked yourself the question, if there's clones, do they have a soul? Wouldn't they be the perfect shuttle, if you will, for demons? If they didn't have a soul, they could be just fully under the control of the demons. What do the clones think? Now here's where it really gets troublesome. How do you know that you're not a clone? Oh, well, you'd laugh at that one. But how would you know? How do you really know how you got here? You think you know. But now imagine if you are a clone. How do you know that, where you came from? You don't know. These celebrity clones might ask themselves that question from time to time. They must remember a very troubling childhood. We have some videos. Let's see if we can find some. It'd be perfect timing. But the video guy. You guys know the video guy, don't you? It is not happening. When the video guy is in charge, it's just hardly ever happening, ladies and gentlemen. Well, we had a perfect video about the childhood of these Hollywood clones, and we'll stumble upon it. We always do. But they have... it's getting closer. I'm feeling it. No, the video guy has done it again. Oh, we're just not going to wait. We're not going to wait for the video guy. But how do you know who... There it is. There it is, for fuck's sakes. 10 million years later. They don't really remember their childhood, except that it was very troubling. Look at this one. Wearing lipstick, getting molested by the obvious Luciferian. So there's so many angles to this story. But, society is so advanced at this stage, we now have clones to deal with. And robots. And artificial intelligence. And let's not forget the Wuhan super virus, ladies and gentlemen. But while you're wearing your mask and sheltering in place, you forgot all about these pedos in Hollywood. You forgot all about this New World Order. You forgot all about 9/11 and everything that's happened in the last 20 years. You've gone back to sleep. I know you have, because most of you have a MAGA hat and you don't plan on voting for Biden. And why would you? Creepy Biden. Ooh, that was nice. But you have to ask yourself, how real are these people on television? I remember in 2016, we were celebrating. It was finally over. And we finally got an outsider in the White House, and it was going to change. They were going to drain the swamp, put Hillary in prison, investigate 9/11, make everything right again in our country. Isn't that what you were expecting? Come on, be honest. Come on, you can do it. You can be honest with yourself just this once. In 2016, when Trump got elected, you were thinking to yourself, it's finally going to change. I know a lot of us were shedding tears. I know a lot of us were thankful, so thankful that Trump had won and it wasn't Hillary. Because now we could finally go after these cult members. I mean, you remember the 2016 campaign, right? It was all about Pizzagate, Pedogate, all of these witches and Luciferians, all of these child molesters and the like. And, you know, draining the swamp was just supposed to be some kind of politically correct. It was supposed to be some kind of politically correct way of saying, we're going to take these people out. Oh yeah, we're just going to drain the swamp. And 4 years later, look at us now. I mean, I'm not sure how aware you are of the current situation, but they're not sending Hillary to prison. They're not sending anybody to prison that's from that side. Now, you have to ask yourself the question, if you knew then what you know now, would you have voted any differently? Oh, fuck no, ladies and gentlemen. But maybe we would have acted a little differently. But imagine, you know, you would say to yourself, well, I just wouldn't have voted. How many of you are thinking about that this time around? You're not going to vote. I'm not interested in creepy Biden or Donald Trump. What happens then? You don't vote, and all of the other shills vote, and somebody wins, right? And you're not voting didn't make a difference. And in fact, whatever you do right now, say you have three options. You can vote for Donald Trump, you could vote for creepy Biden, or you could not vote. I mean, you could vote for somebody else, right? Like Ron Johnson. But essentially, you have three choices. And no matter which one you choose, it's not going to make a difference, especially in this election, because it's all pretty much going to be mail-in voting, right? You know that second wave is going to show up just before the election. Or in any case, you know, they're going to send out so many mail-in ballots that now it's just impossible to control who's actually voting for what. And so it doesn't really matter what you vote for in the next election. It's already been rigged. And, you know, they're going to try and keep us distracted for the next, 6 months until they can just fulfill the next chapters in their script. All we have to do is either vote for candidate A, vote for candidate B, or basically not vote at all. As long as we do one of those things, nothing is going to change. Do you understand that? I hope you do. And essentially, that means that if we want this system to change, we're going to have to do what the original Americans did. They were smart enough to recognize a tyranny. And, they revolted over a tea tax. Okay? They were like, no taxation without representation, basically. I'm sure they had a few other, arguments. But essentially, they didn't feel like they were represented in the government that was ruling over them. Do you have that feeling right now at all? It's this little group of people, and you have no say in who this little group of people are. I mean, they're just automatically selected, and then you get a, quote-unquote choice. But the original Americans were able to recognize when their government had gone tyrannical, when it wasn't fair. And you look at, how smart they were. They were getting screwed over on just a little thing like tea tax. And, it was the end of the story. Look at everything that we're suffering through now. Look at all of the injustices. Look at the eugenics programs, the endless wars, the obvious Luciferian, cult in charge trying to, murder children and the like. Look at all of the grievous abominations that are happening in our country right now. I mean, if the people in 1776 could see what we're seeing right now, do you think they would even hesitate 1 second to boogaloo? Now you have to ask yourself the question, do you think you're a real American? Now you might, just obviously say yes because you were born in America. And I really don't think that should be the, end-all criteria. Because there's a lot of people that are born in America that are just totally excluded from the system. And that's the problem. In any case, there's a lot of people running around thinking that, they're Americans, but they have no idea what that means. It's just enough for them that, they were born here and they're just given all of the rights and protections thereof. But essentially they have no idea where they've landed. Or maybe they do. Ladies and gentlemen. But real Americans wouldn't accept what we're seeing today. And that's why you're starting to see the revolt. You're starting to see, the massive protests and the like. And it's basically a huge powder keg right now. And the system has been exposed once again with this pandemic. And, people are on the verge of revolution. And so just wait for this system to just basically all of a sudden reverse course a little bit and go, oh, look, the pandemic is over. You can go back to your lives for now. We've been exposed. We'll be back. They always come back. And if you pay attention, to the frequency of Gladio B events, there were a whole lot in the Obama administration. Shootings all the time to take your guns. But when Trump came into office, there were very few. Most of them were international. Why? Because he was trying to build your trust. And he wanted you to think that, this Republican was different than, the other Republicans out there. But we should have paid more attention when, they were genociding the Kurds, because that's essentially what we're dealing with now. In any case, now it's us. But look, this system is out to get you. They've released their bioweapon. That's an act of war. That's a war crime. Not only an act of war, but it's a war crime. These people have been fully exposed. We've got the receipt for this murder weapon, for this weapon of genocide. This coronavirus was manufactured at the Wuhan lab with funding from Dr. Fauci from the NIAID. Ladies and gentlemen. So they've got their fingerprints all over this. They let this virus in. It's just another classic problem reaction solution so that they could vaccinate you and, bring out their cashless society and roll out their, eugenics programs and the like. But, they've totally been exposed. Once again, we see them for what they are. And you have to wonder, what are people waiting for? Real Americans would have revolted years ago. And today people just, are either brainwashed, totally enslaved, they feel helpless, they feel alone. And, we were talking about this yesterday, in terms of genocides and the like. When you think of all the victims of genocides in history, they were basically all rounded up one by one. They just stayed at home and the Gestapo came knocking and they were rounded up, under what seemed like legitimate circumstances. Laws were passed, these people became criminals or outlaws or enemies of the state, and they had to be rounded up and they had to be dealt with. But had all of those victims or future victims of those genocides just picked a date and showed up and resisted in force, They might have saved themselves, ladies and gentlemen. And essentially that's why you have the rights that you have in America. You have a right to free speech, to protest, and the right to bear arms, because you are the last check and balance to democracy. And when you don't do your part, that's when the tyranny comes to genocide you. And people just aren't doing their part. They're not doing their part as citizens. They're more worried about fighting each other and virtue signaling. I mean, Karen has become a new word out there. Have you seen it? Are you a Karen out there? But people are so busy basically, denouncing each other that they're just, they're not in any position to fight back against this real tyranny. Now, we often ask the question, where does this tyranny come from? And if you've been paying attention to this world, evil is as evil does. This is a world of dualities, light and dark, day and night, good and evil. And on it goes. And you can just group all of the evil, negative things together into one camp, and all of the positive, beautiful things together in another camp. And if it's ugly or disturbing or dark or depressing or terrifying, that's the dark side. But if it's, joyful and honest and, sincere and just, that's the right side. You can tell them by their fruits. And you can tell that whatever's going on out there, it's the dark side. It's evil, across the board. And if you're a Christian out there looking at the world, you can see it for what it is. They're trying to roll out their mark of the beast system. They're promoting Sodom and Gomorrah. They're inverting the world and, just trying to destroy creation. And it's really a tragedy out there, ladies and gentlemen. So who are these people on the television? We're going to get into that. We're going to be going into the news, believe it or not. Are you ready for the Boogaloo, July 4th? They tried to suspend your 4th of July. They tried to suspend the U.S. Constitution, your rights. They've tried to take advantage of you, and they've tried to exterminate you. That's why you're bringing the guillotine to your state capital this July 4th for the Boogaloo. You can't let them pass any more laws out there because they're out to get you. And now we know more about this pandemic. Right away they were coming on, every governor was coming on television, giving their press conference, being a wartime president with emergency powers, high on emergency powers. And now we're learning, that they were all basically dooming their constituencies through, testing that didn't work and other means. But also they were shifting infected patients from the hospitals into nursing homes on purpose to infect people. Their field hospitals remained empty. They were shifting people into, the nursing homes to get rid of, the useless eaters and to collect their death taxes, essentially. And we're seeing this across the board as well as many other things. They told you everything, that you shouldn't do, and said that was, proper medical advice. And, initially they were like, you don't need a mask, just wash your hands, even though this is an airborne pneumonia and the like. And we're not going to get into, do you think there's a virus or not a virus right now? I think, you can't eliminate any possibility, but, there's been numerous sequences deposited into the gene bank, into sites that, basically classify this virus. And so, we're not going to have that debate right now. But essentially, they let this virus in. They cooked it up in a lab. They booted it up in Wuhan. And then they infected the world. They let it in, and once they knew that everybody was infected, then they started locking everybody down and depriving them of fresh air and sunlight and telling them to breathe in the Clorox, which is really like the worst advice you could give to people with, a respiratory illness. Bleach, of course, turns into chlorine, which is a gas which irritates the lungs, which accelerates the pathway of this disease. And on top of that, not only were they killing people in the nursing homes, but, we're hearing from the nurses they were killing people in the hospitals. The hospitals became like Soylent Green euthanasia centers. And you have to understand why they're doing this. The demons, want to murder. And the more murder they can get away with, the more, dark energy they acquire. And right now, Trump is like, a Hitler-like mass murderer, essentially. Believe it or not, you may not like that analysis, but essentially that's what we're looking at. And that's why, look, ladies and gentlemen, this July 4th, spare no politician, spare no media pundit, spare no, high party official from the guillotine. These people have tried to genocide you. There's no room for mistakes here. We must strike back. We must fight back. We must survive. And to do so, we must defend ourselves. And, this is completely justified. These people are war criminals. And they need to be brought to justice. And at the end of the day, it's we the people that's in charge. It's not the FBI. It's not the Department of Justice. They're supposed to be our public servants. They're not doing their job, so they're fired. And we'll find replacements as soon as we get rid of the traitors that are responsible for this pandemic and for murdering countless people in our various states. And we need to start, state by state. Everybody needs to start by basically occupying their state capitals, and then we'll send in, a couple brigades for Washington, D.C. But essentially, it has to start at the state level. This has to be a grassroots movement, and you guys all have to be, ambassadors for that movement. And look, there's really nothing to say, nothing more than that can be said about how evil these people are. But another reminder here is, how they're basically just destroying every form of life on Earth, little by little. We've already lost half of the world's species in the last 100 years. They're like canaries in the coal mine. Something is happening, and it's terraforming, it's eugenics, it's genocide. And people need to act accordingly. And maybe you don't care, if they're exterminating people, but I think most people can care about the poor, defenseless animals out there that are being exterminated by, either chemical warfare or these death towers or the like. This is a rather funny cartoon. We have to follow the science, so we can't reopen the economy until November 3rd. Which science is that? Political science. And in political science, nothing happens by chance. And so, this virus doesn't roll in by chance and just, defeat all of our defenses like on 9/11 once again. And you really have to wonder, what do we spend these trillions of dollars on every year if, every attack just, succeeds and blows us away every time? So 9/11, these planes are just, flying around unmolested for hours, breaching the most secured airspace in the world. And they're like, oh, it was a live exercise. And the same thing here. We were getting reports from the Defense Intelligence Agency back in November, Thanksgiving, last year, of a raging outbreak in Wuhan. And in December, early December, there were, high-level meetings at the National Security Council in the White House. And for months, they didn't do anything, but they were selling their stocks. And they were giving you the wrong advice on purpose to infect you with their virus so that you would have to get their vaccine, you would have to get their chip, you'd have to go cashless society, and you'd have to totally surrender to whatever they say because, they've declared a state of emergency, and of course you love them. You love these people on television. Whitmer extends her stay-at-home orders until June 12th, and they just keep pushing, the carrot. They just keep dangling the carrot in front of you, and you just keep going another couple weeks. It'll be over soon. And, June 12th is like another 3 weeks. I mean, she's just, this girl is a piece of work. Whitmer, the witch. Any case, we should be, placing all of these people under arrest and having a speedy trial, before their execution. And look, I mean, I think in some cases with some of these public officials, it's going to be hard to say, whether they're guilty or not, but you really have to err on the side of caution. It's better to execute than to let them, strike back or go to Argentina like the Nazis did. Study finds just 7% of people in Stockholm had COVID antibodies. Now, this is despite, this bioweapon circulating for months, and it has, an infectious rate that is just like through the roof, like nothing anybody has ever seen before. It's like a virus with a jet engine. And, they were one of the few countries that didn't lock down, meaning that the probability that everyone, basically was infected by this virus is nearly 100%. They had, twice the amount of time than everybody else. And what's troubling here is that only 7% of the people are testing positive for antibodies. Now, why is that significant, ladies and gentlemen? And, well, look, first and foremost, HIV tests are antibody tests. And so, the body makes antibodies for HIV, but it's not immune to HIV. Now, the fact that everybody's been exposed, but only 7% of the people test positive tells us, tells us the proficiency of their tests. And this is either by design or, for some other reasons. But, in theory, a bioweapon would be able to work around standard tests. And, you wouldn't want your bioweapon being picked up with a normal test. So we still have no idea exactly, the full ramifications of this virus, the long-term effects. We've talked about this in previous broadcasts. It's our understanding that this is like airborne AIDS mixed with rabies and perhaps other viruses, and that it begins as a primary infection and then becomes a systemic infection that causes all sorts of organ damage, like Ebola, and and turns into a neurodegenerative disease like rabies. So it could be that, in a few months or in a few years, we've got a huge explosion, a time bomb effect of other diseases related to this. And if this is a doomsday virus, that means the clock is ticking and there isn't any time to waste. And given that we know that it came out of a lab, that means it has an antidote. They have the antidote. And we just got to, start waterboarding them until they cough it up. The real antidote. And I don't think people should be treating this anything differently, any differently than the war on terrorism. These people that you see on television right now are terrorists. And they've unleashed, a bioweapon, which is, a war crime. And so they should be treated like Bin Laden. All of these people on TV, in America, mind you. Your favorite, news reporters, your favorite governors, your favorite president, they should all be treated like Bin Laden, essentially, because that's what they are. And if you disagree with that, you need to do your research. This isn't poli-sci 101, but we have covered a lot of this in our previous broadcasts. And people that have been watching this show every day understand what we're saying. But if you just stumbled upon this broadcast somehow, you need to do your research because you've been betrayed. And nothing has gone away with this administration. They're still rolling out death towers. They're still fluoridating the water. They're still making your kids autistic. They're still, spraying your foods with toxic pesticides and modifying the food, and, round and round we go. So nothing has changed at all. And, you might have, turned your back on the Kurds that really fought that war against ISIS for us, and, left them to be genocided, and you didn't care. And guess what? It's come back. It's blown back in your face. And now you're the Kurds. Now you're being genocided. And you can love the people on television all you want and stay in denial. But the rest of us should be at the Boogaloo. And you need to create buzz for the Boogaloo. Don't just wait for the Boogaloo to happen. You need to make it happen. And, we talked about this yesterday. You got to knock on that door before it'll open. You got to seek, and then you'll find it. And, if you don't even help yourself, what are you expecting? So, people have to participate. And every citizen is called to duty here, ladies and gentlemen, because these people are monsters. And not only was Cuomo sending people, to their death, but so was Governor Whitmer. They're all guilty of war crimes. Giant corporations reaching into your personal private Google Drive and erasing copies of the movie Plandemic. They want to erase it from history. And they do this a lot. I mean, it's like, the glitch in the Matrix. They try to fix it. I mean, these corporations are evil. They're an extension of the devil itself. And so are all of your, devices, basically. When you think of your cell phone and the like, they're scrying mirrors. When they're off, they're like black mirrors. That's an occult scrying mirror. Crying with an S. And you may not have ever heard the term before, but these are literally occult objects that you have in your home. And everybody has them, ladies and gentlemen. But the more you have, the worse it is. And the more you use them for, idle things, the worse they become. And they become charged with so much negative energy, they essentially become metaphysical black holes right in front of your face, dosing you with the Wi-Fi and, other electric fields. And it's, they're super bad news. Just saying. And these companies are, essentially the source of that, right? So, there's just so much you could say about these people on the television and these tech companies and the like. Of course, they didn't arrest any of the coup members, right? So, and they've just told us that they're not going to prosecute them. So what are you going to vote for next time? Well, you're going to vote for Trump because you don't want Biden to win. But if you had a better choice, you'd probably choose the better choice. And we're getting screwed, ladies and gentlemen. Here's some big breaking news. After attorney obtains evidence U.S. government has communications between Seth Rich and WikiLeaks, DOJ again refuses requests to perform additional searches. I mean, they're basically choking this case, making sure that, it never comes to court. And, there's so much misconduct here, so much injustice in this country. You cannot expect the FBI or the Department of Justice to save you from this tyrannical government, because they are this tyrannical government. They are the Gestapo. And in every genocide, it looked official, it looked legal, it looked lawful. They were arrested under, people were arrested, they were moved to camps under, laws. And I think we've got, perhaps we do, perhaps we don't. Thought we had a nice little World War II picture loaded up, but I don't think it's in this presentation. But essentially, they've turned our cities into giant concentration camps, ladies and gentlemen. And these death towers are your electric fence, in a way. And your phones are basically keeping you here. You know what I mean? So are the malls, so are the, grocery stores.
We're here today not just to talk about the future of this company. We're here to talk about its destiny. The means of our salvation are already at hand. I give to you the T-virus.
The Trump virus. Look, people can, agree to disagree, but did you vote for death towers on every street in 2016? Did you vote to let Hillary go? Did you vote for this virus? For this artificial event? As they say. Oh, it's looking like Star Wars now, bitches. How long before they zap you with this thing? How long before they have this mounted on their RoboCops, zapping you for not complying, for not wearing your mask? Why don't you think about that? Because that's coming. And if you don't, if you don't boogaloo now, once they get the RoboCops out there, which will be probably in a couple of years, you're done. It's over for humanity. They'll be jacking you into the Matrix and killing off the ones that don't comply. So here's some British press. Matt Hancock holds a 75% stake in a pharmaceutical company making vaccines called Porton Biopharma. I bet that's linked to Porton Down, which is linked to the Novichok attacks, which is another, Gladio B chemical weapon attack, right, where they blame the Russians, etc. And it happened just like, a few blocks away from their premier bioweapons facility, just like in Wuhan, just a few blocks away. And basically, just like the anthrax attacks as well. And there's more. The Ebola attacks were similar in nature. But, it's all New World Order out to get you. So there has been a recent 5G court case. Mark Steele, you probably heard of that guy, basically won a case on highlighting the dangers of 5G. So the telecoms probably tried to sue him, and he won. Interesting story there. Harvard physicists, no safe way to implement 5G. And that's just a story that people can't get enough of, to be quite honest, because there's genuine reason to be concerned about what's going on here. Here's more examples of, just how corrupt the FBI is. Be sure to check out all of these stories in their fullest on our website, stfnreport.com, or on our Twitter feed, Stranger Than Fiction News. And if you're watching this on Facebook, check out our ScrewTube channel. We broadcast live, and, there's a wonderful chat going. I want to say hi to everybody in the chat right now. Look at it go. Want to say hi to Steve, Matrix Universe, Mel Gibson, Zion, John, Wen. How you doing, American Defender? How's it going, American First? How's it going, Granny Page, Sean? How's it going? Got to get a hold of you, brother. Afisha Haynes, how you doing? John H, what's going on? And many more out there. Verticality, we do not consent. No one near. Hello. Hello indeed. There's there's many ways of greeting people. Most people say hi, and others say low. You know what I'm saying? Hello out there. Now here's some disturbing news. I know many of you are not tree huggers out there, but personally I love nature. I love creation. Big fan of it. And we're seeing some anomalies up in the Arctic Circle. 86 degrees at the North Pole. It's pretty warm. That's being reported by the mainstream news. Can you trust them? Probably not. But, have things changed? Definitely. And, I grew up in Fargo, North Dakota. And we used to get winters 50 below zero in February. And in 2016, it was actually 50 above in February. Never forget that one. Never forget the winter of 2016. And it's just, it's crazy. How many people have been to Glacier National Park? You know why it's called Glacier National Park? Because there used to be glaciers there. Not anymore, bitches, you know. So, you know, I get a lot of people think that, oh, well, the plants need carbon dioxide and et cetera, et cetera. But they don't need all the other pollution that's coming out of these factories and the like. And, you know, we've lost 50% of species and of the species on Earth in the last 100 years. It's an ecocide. It's a genocide. And, you know, that's creation that they're killing on purpose. We're seeing some strange things coming through the news wire. Judges are ruling that children cannot refuse vaccines, especially if they've been taken away from their homes. And we're going to be seeing more of that. You know, as they send the National Guard door to door, they're going to start taking kids away from people that are infected and, you know, putting them in state homes. And the reason that that works so well is because everybody's been infected. So it's just a matter of time before they show up at your door and basically, you know, tell you that you're positive. So, you know, most people are asymptomatic, but that doesn't mean that their test won't test you positive. And so, you know, that's coming. Now, the British are singing that exact same song. You know, as soon as a vaccine hits the market, they're going to make it mandatory. So we're going to see mandatory testing, mandatory vaccination. And, you know, if you don't comply, they're going to arrest you and genocide you. So they're going to genocide you one way or another, with their vaccines or in their death camps. Liberate Hong Kong is becoming, you know, basically the tip of the spear against this, you know, diabolical system. And remember, you know, what the sign of the dragon is in the Bible. And that's certainly the dark side. So we've got, you know, we've got an excellent example here of wildlife, basically, you know, trying to survive, helping each other out. And if we were as, you know, if we were as smart as this odd couple, you know, we would definitely move in for the Boogaloo this July 4th, 2020. Ladies and gentlemen, we'd arrest these criminals. And, you know, they need to be stopped and they need to be sent to jail immediately. That's why there needs to be a Boogaloo. You have to occupy these government buildings or else they're going to pass more laws. And that's the problem. So, you know, Boogaloo July 4th, ladies and gentlemen, and bring the guillotines. I wonder if this isn't... What is going on here? Oh, yeah. I mean, it's only going to get worse and worse. And now, you know, the kids are going to get an ultra dose of brainwashing and the like. So, you know, it's a total catastrophe. It's a total nightmare. There needs to be a reboot, a restart. These people need to be arrested. People are debating whether Joe Biden is a rapist or a racist. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure you heard the speech of how he owns all black people. And, you know, that certainly set the internet on fire. We're not getting involved there. You know what I mean? But, you know, everybody knows the history of the Democratic Party. And I know why a lot of people, you know, get tempted by the Democrats. You know, they pretend like they're a party of the people, like they actually care about you. But, you know, you look at their districts and it's worse than anywhere else. And nobody wants to be in Nancy Pelosi's district or, you know, in Adam Schiff's district, Pedo would. Now look at this guy. He goes just total apeshit on the cops. He just body slams one like the Ultimate Warrior and just kicks the shit out of the other. And it's, you know, and that's in China, man. They're hardcore over there. That was some Chinese. Yes, this is nice. And, you know, at first, you know, I didn't think nothing of it, but I mean, I think he had his hand, I mean, like right there. I mean, he must have thought that girl was, you know, 8 years old or something. People who go to the beach to complain about people at the beach. You know what I mean? You got all these virtue signalers out there, you know, trying to get some fresh air. And if they see you, you know, they're pointing their finger at you and accusing you. And you know what the name of the devil is? Or means? It's the accuser. That's one of the names, they say. So, you know, a true act of the devil. Oh, you're getting fresh air, you're getting sunshine. Now here's another little interesting political cartoon. Boy, oh boy, I'm thinking about buying something. And here you got, Google and Facebook listening in, spying on you 24/7. And, you've probably all had this experience where you're talking about something and the next time you go online, you start seeing ads for it. It's pretty bad. Bill Gates refuses to say why he flew with Jeffrey Epstein. There's also reports that, one of Bill Gates' tech guys got arrested at Bill Gates' home with a bunch of child porn. So you have to wonder what the network dude at the Gates compound was doing. And what else we got in the news? Trump appoints big pharma exec connected to Bill Gates to head vaccine developments. Boom, bitches. But stay in denial. See if that helps you out when they send the military door to door to vaccinate you, which, Trump has said repeatedly. And don't get us wrong. I mean, we're conservatives. We like Trump, for what he says, but not what he does. It's kind of like the Pharisees, do as they say, but not as they do kind of thing. Check the alarm here compared to the hush-hush of the mainstream media. The rollout of 5G is a massive health experiment. This is reported by the Daily Mail. So, and, we played the video yesterday of the Senate hearing where they actually admit that they've done no safety tests on 5G. Zero. All they say is that the power that's coming out of these death towers supposedly is under 10,000 milliwatts per meter squared, which is huge. It's like basically 10,000 milliwatts is like 10 watts of power per square meter. And that might not seem like a lot, but I mean, that's like electricity through the air, and it's basically slow electrocuting you. And these are like pulsed beams coming at you. 5G radiation is so dangerous that, it's killing the birds, the bees, and the trees. And, it's some serious stuff. And that's why they wanted to cut down the trees so you wouldn't see the damage, essentially. Please wait here until you realize your government is brainwashing you. I think a lot of people will be there forever, ladies and gentlemen. All roads lead to Dark Winter, the last American vagabond. This is an article worth reading. Dark Winter is the basically Operation Anthrax during 9/11. And it happened just before the anthrax attacks, and it was like the same thing. And here they've got all sorts of really interesting links to mainstream media articles about reporters getting advanced warning, being told to get on the Cipro, and we're seeing a lot of familiar faces in the anthrax attacks, as well as this attack, which was preceded by Event 201. So there's a lot of similarities. Dark Winter, Event 201, anthrax, coronavirus. A worthwhile read. Check that out on our website, stfnreport.com, or on our Twitter feed, Stranger Than Fiction News. You can't vaccinate against radiation poisoning, bitches. You understand that? So, these death towers are coming to a neighborhood near you, but, you can go 0G at any time if you want to. Ben Swann destroys fact checkers who didn't check the facts. We've seen this many different times. Whatever happened to Ben Swann? Remember that story? Killer Cuomo, ladies and gentlemen, that was the big story of the day. And again, it's because of people like this that we have a U.S. Constitution. Look, you are the last check and balance to this tyranny, and you have to act accordingly. Boogaloo, July 4th, 2020. Bring the guillotine, bring your guns, and, come out in numbers. And if the whole city becomes the militia, they're not going to be able to stop you. But, if you just, don't do any prep work, don't get people involved, like a huge rave party or something like that, or a huge house party, and nobody shows up and it's completely bust, that's on you. So everybody's got to organize in their state and, start with your town and, make it happen. So this should be more or less your full-time job, talking about the Boogaloo, talking about the war crimes, talking about how they let this virus in, talking about the Fauci-Gates connection, talking about how these people have been genociding you for years, and now they've really gone overboard because they're desperate. So, people really need to act accordingly here, ladies and gentlemen. These people are out to get you. And if you don't take them out, they're going to take you out. So it's either you want to survive or you don't want to survive. I saw somebody in the comments earlier saying that nobody wants a Boogaloo. Nobody wants a genocide either. Nobody asked for this virus. Nobody asked for these death towers. Nobody asked for 9/11. We were just fine in the 90s, And now we're dealing with this. So, and it's only going to get worse, ladies and gentlemen. And so, people need to take their destiny into their own hands. It's always going to be like David versus Goliath. Don't worry about the numbers. The numbers will take care of themselves. Just get people there and watch the miracle happen. We'll leave it there for this broadcast. Till the next time, ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening to this, you are the resistance.